Blizzard's constantly embroiled in some sort of controversy, and lately it's been two big stories that I have covered multiple times on the channel. First of all, they've decided with the Diablo 2 remaster to censor all of the female characters in one way or another. They toned down their outfits and covered them all up. And some of the characters now, like the Amazon, were remodeled and they look terrible. I mean, they look like Karens with a capital K, which was super disappointing for a lot of people to hear about. We were hoping this remaster was going to be as close to the original game as possible, and yet now we're finding out that they're changing a bunch of things like character models. And we were also really disappointed to hear about the whole situation with Quentin Flynn. If you didn't know, Blizzard ended up firing him and erasing all of his work in World of Warcraft over unproven Me Too allegations, even though he's worked for them since before Burning Crusade. It's a situation that, in my opinion, deserves way more attention than it's getting, and I've talked about it in a couple of videos now, but yet there are now more issues arising with Blizzard in terms of new censorship systems being implemented into World of Warcraft. I have streamed World of Warcraft on the channel a couple of times. It is a game that I used to periodically play. I never got super into World of Warcraft, but I definitely gave it a shot, and when new expansions come out, usually I play them. I've streamed like Shadowlands a couple of times, but now it says World of Warcraft has begun censoring slurs in game. So it says World of Warcraft will now block messages containing reserved words, they're calling them, arriving as a small moderation update discovered by Wowhead. We're not even talking about blocking the words themselves. We're not talking about, like, blanking them out, adding asterisks. No, they are completely going to be blocking any messages containing the words that are on this list. So it says for years, World of Warcraft has censored certain words by obfuscation as part of a mature language filter. I think at this point, most games that have some sort of text chat do have mature language filters that you can toggle on and off. And I think that that's great, because if you don't want that experience, you don't have to deal with it. If you don't want to see slurs or swears or adult language, you can just shut it off and be on your way, and you don't have to see the content you don't want to see. But for a lot of people like myself, I personally don't care. I do swear. I do type swear words occasionally into general chats, and to me it's not a big deal. But I do like the fact that a lot of games offer players options. I am all for as many options as possible for players, so I think that yeah, language filters should exist, but they should be toggleable in case you don't want to use them. It says, but now though, it appears the game will block messages from being sent entirely if they contain so-called reserved words, and for now, this covers one racial slur, though I expect to see that category expanded in the future. So we know when it comes to video games and just comes to the internet in general, if you want to get around a filter system, there's always going to be a way. Let's look at Twitch for a minute. Twitch has an emote system built into their platform. Streamers themselves can make individual emotes, but people use emotes in very, let's just call it negative ways. Instead of using a specific slur, people will use an emote to mean something different, basically, and twist the meaning, and we've seen that happen multiple times. There are ways to get around these filters, like adding spaces in between letters and slightly rewording the words that you want to use. There are always going to be ways to get around filters, so this is actually probably going to make the situation worse with racial slurs, because people are going to want to find ways around this system, and then we're going to see chats spammed with different ways to get around these. It will completely block your message. It's not just like blocking the word, like I said, with an asterisk, kind of censoring the word, which again, I do think that maturity filters should exist in case you want to use them, but it will completely and entirely block your message if any of the words are on the reserved word list that they're creating. Am I surprised to hear that this is what they're worried about? No, I mean, they have been shattering expectations with how badly they're doing right now. If you also haven't heard, Jeff Kaplan also left Blizzard after 16 years or so, and Overwatch 2 now has lost its director, and I really liked Overwatch 1, so I think a lot of us had pretty high hopes for for Overwatch 2. We don't really know what it's going to entail yet, besides the fact that it's going to be very heavily story-based. And I know a lot of us weren't even going to give it a try or play it because it is a Blizzard game, but again, I want companies to be good, and for these companies to get their acts together, and this is a big step back in my opinion. So instead of giving players the tools to customize their own experience, developers are now choosing what players can and can't see in a game. It is absolutely ridiculous. If they wanted to implement this, I think that it should be, again, another filter system. From what it sounds like, though, in the update that they provided, the accessibility update, this isn't going to be a feature because they don't want anyone saying these messages in the chat or these slurs in the chat. And a big problem here is they could silence people so easily with this system. I mean, they could put anything in this system. They could put Free Hong Kong under this list of terms, and all messages with it would be unsendable by players. They could put a name like Blitzchung under it. They could put any terms that they want and get away with it because they've already done that in games like Overwatch. Right now, it says that there's only one word on this list right now. I'm sure that we can all guess what the slur is that's on this list, but they could completely abuse this system if they wanted to. This is not just one instance of Blizzard censoring one thing in one of their games. Blizzard constantly has been censoring their games over and over. Let me point you to the Diablo 2 situation really quickly. Diablo 2 Resurrected alpha test reveals Blizzard censorship and poor art direction of upcoming remaster. It says the discovery of censorship in Diablo 2 Resurrected, along with the game's questionably poor art direction, has led to frustration and outrage among many players who had hoped that Blizzard would refrain from making such edits to the beloved title during its remastering. It says first announced in February as part of the developer's annual BlizzCon convention, Diablo 2 Remastered has been promoted as a remastered version of the PC Classic, with Diablo head even promising during the title's reveal, "We're not trying to reverse engineer the game and build it from scratch. This is D2. This is the same core gameplay and the same story and tone. Even the voices are the same voice actors. Yet, unfortunately, they didn't extend this to the graphics because the graphics are toned down." The Amazon playable character, who previously wore a long and narrow loincloth that occasionally gave way to brief glimpses of her butt and thighs, has now been replaced with a medium-length skirt that covers up the entirety of the upper half of her lower body. In a similar fashion, Blizzard also gave the game's sole evil female a new loincloth that covers her once previously visible butt and thighs as well. And of course, I would like to point you all to the Hearthstone situation. This is a post from 2019. Blizzard censors Hearthstone cards in latest update. I have definitely covered this a lot because they continuously censored cards in Hearthstone. But it says Blizzard is making some dramatic changes to Hearthstone ahead of the release of the game's next expansion, including the censorship of several cards for both names and artwork that are either too violent or sexually charged for the game's apparently new policies. Hearthstone is one of the biggest digital card games in the world, spanning many years at or near the top of the genre thanks to a combination of mechanics that are only made possible by the game's decision to remain completely online in the close tie-ins to the beloved World of Warcraft and Warcraft properties. This is a really hard situation to talk about because I get that it's rough. Blizzard has created amazing games in the past, and I'll admit they have some great franchises. I really liked Overwatch. I really love Diablo. StarCraft is amazing, but they keep making the same bad moves over and over. I'm all for giving companies multiple chances to change and to be better, to prove they want to be different than they were. But since Activision acquired Blizzard, they have been trash, and I don't think at this point they're ever gonna go back. I truly hate to say that, but with all of this censorship, the bad had changes to games, firing people undeserving of it because accusations were made against them. It's rough because there's no point to support this company unless you love their games, and I know people love their games, but this isn't what people should be wanting to support. There are amazing indie games out there, amazing companies out there who deserve much more attention, and unfortunately this is just another situation of Blizzard deciding to censor more things in their games, silence players, and now they have begun censoring terms in games that they don't like. But let everyone know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this video and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.